Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What we got is an old-fashioned debate between Ted Cruz and one of the most unlikable people on CNN and all of mainstream media, perhaps even on any and every screen we have available to us. Kaitlin Collins. For some reason, she is just so abrupt, so defensive, so argumentative. It's wild. It's wild. So, Ted sits down with her, and what they're debating is election results. Now, the question that's being posed, especially at this point in the election, especially towards Republicans, is will you concede? Will you certify? Will you not question anything in regards to the election if you lose? And the answer is always, well, yeah, if there's no funny business going on, of course. And that always, for some reason, is a problem. And the reason I say for some reason is because people on the left have been questioning elections for quite some time. So I'm going to show you Kaitlin and Ted Cruz debating, where Ted owns this lady, owns her. She does not know what to do with herself. She has to cut him off. She has to run away. Then I'm going to show you some compilations of a bunch of people doing exactly what Kaitlin does not want any Republican to do right now. Let's get into it.
He's accomplished. He said Donald Trump basically gets in his own way. But I do want to ask you about the election. You were the first senator to object to the votes. Mm-hmm. In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So Kaitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not. Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. You've ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
But hold on a second. What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times.
But
no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
Hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
So, A, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely.
B, if you look at in 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so... Look,
and what happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
So do you
Am I wrong?
So you're asking, will you promise no matter what to agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens? And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections. Elections get overturned. Voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post-Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
The media
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
You only ask Republicans that.
Because it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that.
So
we've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that.
So my
question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud regardless of what happens.
Was there fraud in 2020?
Of course there was fraud in 2020.
No, there wasn't, and you still objected.
You know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
But you're saying zero voter fraud occurred. That's what you just said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome of that election.
Okay, but that's a different statement.
But no, it's not. Because if it wouldn't have changed
you said there was no voter fraud.
There was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, and you know that, Senator.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
you wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election? But do you know why
I wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
I tried to look through history and precedent, and the best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go.
But hold on.
What did Congress do in 1876?
What did Congress do in 1876? How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, I have to know, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect, Senator. And let me ask you, it's Republicans have twisted themselves in knots. It's just a yes or no question. I'm not twisting myself. I'm answering your question. You just don't like my answer. And what's your answer? Is it yes or is it no?
So in 1876, what Congress did is it appointed an election commission. It consisted of 15 people. 5 House members, 5 senators, 5 Supreme Court justices. The Election Commission was charged with studying the evidence and making a determination of what voter fraud occurred, and that determined the winner. And what I called for in 2020 was to do the same thing, appoint an election commission, and 11 senators joined me.
Senator, with all due respect, after it had been thrown out of many courts, after the Attorney General Bill Barr, because there was no basis for those court cases.
No, so that's actually
Senator,
not.
with all due respect,
okay, you asked me a question. Do you want me to answer it?
And you didn't answer the question. Dozens of court cases were thrown out.
Hold on a second.
The Attorney General said there was no widespread fraud. You're not clearly answering the question. I want to thank you for that.
I'm answering every question. I think the country would have been a lot better off with a determination of what evidence of voter fraud there was that occurred, and instead the media didn't want to hear it and insists voter fraud never occurs. You ought to go back and look at the Carter-Baker Commission.
It was the Attorney General, and my question was about 2024.
It was the media. It was CNN that relentlessly pushed that propaganda. And by the way,
never propaganda? That there was no widespread fraud in the election?
That voter fraud doesn't exist, and anyone who says it does is wearing a tinfoil hat. That is propaganda. And by the way, you never asked Hillary Clinton this. You never asked Stacey Abrams this. You never asked Al Gore this.
With all due respect,
and every
Senator,
one of them said the Republicans who won were illegitimate.
I haven't had any of them on my show. We'll talk to them. But I don't remember there being a president who was refusing to turn over the transition of power and facilitate in it.
And Trump didn't either. Joe
My
Biden
question was
became
about 2024. You did not answer it.
Let me say a final point for you. You said they haven't come.
Thank you very much, Senator Ted Cruz.
My opponent, Colin Allred, hasn't either. He ought to come.
Who in CNN watches this back and goes, yeah, that was productive? See, that's how you know, right? I'm going to go on to the next clip in a second, but that's how you understand. That's how you know for sure that what she does is completely intentional. They want you to see these Republicans in this agitated state, in this argumentative state. When people watch this, especially people who take this type of information in, they don't see that she's the one causing the argument. They don't see that she's the one acting like as if she's a congresswoman and she's in front of someone at a hearing and she's just allowed to be like, yes or no, yes or no. Like, how is that productive? It makes no sense. I've never seen this woman have a productive conversation. And now that everybody knows the MO, ever since everybody watched the Trump town hall, now everybody that goes on is just ready for her. And they end up just owning her every single time. You notice how she had to walk that back so much? She went from no voter fraud at all, and he went none, to not a lot. Wasn't a lot. Wasn't enough. Wasn't enough. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then for her to say, I'm the one conducting the interview. That's a very polite way of being like, shut your mouth. I don't know the answer to the question that you're asking. And for that reason, I'm not answering your question, and you be quiet and answer my questions. That's basically what she's saying. There's nothing productive about it at all. I don't even who in CNN is like, this is it. This is what we like. This is why CNN's doing so terribly. This is why the ratings are going this. It's because of stuff like this. They're just like, yeah, that's the stuff we like. Yeah, they're just fighting. Yeah, perfect. Oh man, there's so much to it in regards to the message that they're trying to send you about Ted Cruz when they do something like this. And honestly, Ted Cruz is right. He has a very measured approach. He's like, free and fair, everything checks out. Of course he's going to accept it. But you can't act like there's zero, like fraud just doesn't exist. You can't do that no matter who wins. No matter who wins, you can't do that. And if it comes into question, if it's that apparent that it comes into question, you got to question it. And honestly, I get it, right? I'm going to show you some clips right now, right? You know what? Let's just go straight to this one. Let's go straight to this one. I get it. Listen, if you run for president, okay, and someone says, hey, you lost, you're going to be like, oh, 1 second, wait a second, because I spent $600 million. So just give me 1 second to take that in, okay, and count it again. All I'm saying is, just one more time. I just want you to count it one more time, because I spent 9 figures of money, please. Please? I spent almost $1 billion running for... I took money from a lot of dark places. And I just need you, especially Hillary Clinton. She's probably like, I could have been giving speeches at banks for $1 million a pop. Are you kidding me right now? My buddy owns an island. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's get into this clip. And listen, honestly, she said that she's asked Democrats this. She has never asked a Democrat this. How often do you even see Kaitlin Collins sit down with Democrats? Think about it. Sorry for the language, but I'm going to say they unleash her on Republicans to do that type of thing. She's not the person people sit down with and have a lovely conversation with. She's just not. No insult to her. That's not what she does. It's not her MO. Anyways, check this out.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's
what
real
I'm
thing.
scared about in 2020.
But rightly.
Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put into office because the Russians interfered.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president-elect, although legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians and may in fact not be a legitimate president.
The one thing that Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president.
Do you believe Trump is a legitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is in question, yes. So that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Stolen emails, stolen drone, stolen election. Welcome to the world of unprecedented Trump.
So do you believe President Trump is an illegitimate president?
Based on what I just said, which I can't retract.
In the Russian attempt to have the election, and frankly, the FBI is weighing in on the election, I think makes his election illegitimate.
There was a widespread understanding that this election was not on the level. We still don't know what really happened, Isaac. I mean, there's just a lot that I think will be revealed, history will discover, but you don't win by 3 million votes and have all this other shenanigan stuff going on and not come away with an idea like, whoa, something's not right here.
The outcome of the election was affected by their interference, and now we need to know, to what degree, if any, the Trump campaign was actually in collusion with with Russia.
He knows.
This goes on. This goes on for a while. We're only at 2016. I mean, it goes back so far that the hairstyles start to change. Look at this. Look at it. That's young Bill Clinton. That's young Bill Clinton right there. That's heyday Clinton. Look at this. This is just look, him again. This is just decades of people questioning election results. Look at this. Look how far back it goes. Look, that's young Hillary Clinton. Well, Bernie's always been old. Bernie's always been old. But it goes far back. People have been doing this for a long time. And again, I'm not surprised. Obviously, you have the right to question it. You have the right to look around and be like, hey, what's hold on, I just want to find it real quick. But you have the right to be like, hey, I don't think this was on the up and up. And I don't even see what the problem is, left or right, doing this type of thing. But for this Kaitlin Collins and for the mainstream media as a whole to be like, I can't believe there's people who are actually going to question things. It's just absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe it. Man, how many clips of Hillary was there? And the thing is, again, it wasn't even just Trump. She was questioning all types of elections way back in the day. And now all of a sudden Trump does it and somebody else possibly might do it again after this election, and it's this big problem. See, that's the Orwellian part of this whole thing where they act like, no, all of that's gone. And today we've rewritten history to where that's never happened. And we want to know if you're willing to do that. And if you are willing to do that, you're the only people in history to ever do it. Hillary's mad though. Hillary's still mad. Hillary's like, I was walking around with a fake purse that wasn't even mine with hot sauce in it, trying to entertain black people. This is ridiculous. They told me if I entertained those black people, I'd get the election. This is so, you know how beneath me that is? I was going on talk shows and talking to guys with baseball caps on. I can't believe you guys did this to me. I could have been hanging out with my friend Jeffrey. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Those are just jokes. Those are just jokes. Hey, they're just jokes. Kind of. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that Kaitlin Collins, Ted Cruz going at it. I think Ted Cruz destroyed her in this interaction because she just wasn't ready to be questioned, which is it's so odd to just not be ready to be questioned as somebody who's supposedly a journalist, a host. I don't know what they are. I call them propagandists, but you know, they have their titles. But to every question, to not know the answer, to just give these stock talking points that the left wing has given you and just not be able to say anything back to what Ted had to say is just wild to me. Absolutely wild. And I think he held his own, but I also do think, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? If I ever get asked to be on CNN, no. Unless it's to be the CEO. Because if you guys don't know, I talk about it on my main channel. I plan on taking over CNN eventually. And you know what? I won't even fire Kaitlin Collins. There's a lot of people that get fired. Not her. I won't fire her. You know what I'll do? I'll make her talk to Democrats all the time. I'll be like that same thing you did with Trump in the town hall. That's what I want you to do right now. Hillary's in the other room. She'll be like, oh. So that way it's torture for them and it's torture for her. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect. Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And other than that, I'm out. Peace.